Today is Sunday, September 11th, 2022. It is also day 419 of web development, and it's also day 45 of JS. And today I'm going to be creating a modal with JavaScript, but right now I'm just going to set up the basic layout with HTML and CSS. So I'm over here in Replit, and I'm just going to start with a basic container, so a div, and I'm going to give it a class container. And I'm just going to go into CSS and then target the container using a dot because that's what you use to target classes. And I'll give it a border of 5 pixels, solid line border, and then the color of black. Okay, I'm going to run that and see what that gives me. So it gives me just like a line, but the reason why it's like that is because it has no height. So if I do height 100 VH, vertical height of the screen, it's going to become a box like that. So you can now see that the container has a height, and the container is basically going to hold everything in my screen. To remove the spacing surrounding the container, I'm just going to use this star selector, which selects basically everything, and I'll zero out any margin and padding that comes by default in some browsers, including Chrome and Firefox. Now that deals with that. Now in my HTML, I'm going to go and inside the container, I'm going to have a header, right? So I'm going to have a header, and inside the header, I'm going to have two things. So I'm going to have my logo, so that's going to be a div. I'm going to give it an ID of logo, and I'm going to have that be an H1, so like a heading 1. So logo, and then I'll do close div tag, and then I'll run that, and I'll go here and give it a border just so I can see what I'm doing. So border 5 pixels, let's do solid line, let's do red. And then I'll also target the header as well. So I'll do header, since it's an element, there's no need for any weird stuff in the beginning. 5 pixels solid, and I'll do purple. Let me do 10 pixels actually. Purple, and then the last thing would be to add the hamburger menu, because when I click on that, it should give me, what would you call it? A clickable thing, I guess. We'll get to it. So anyway, I want it to be an image, but I want it to be clickable. So I put the image inside the A tag. And so the A tag has this attribute called href, which stands for your hypertext, I mean your hyperreference. So it's the link basically. But if you don't want it to go to anywhere, just put a hashtag. So that's what I usually do. And then I'll put the image in here, and then image has an attribute called source where the link of the image actually goes in that attribute. So I'm going to right click, copy image address here in icons 8. I just searched up menu. It's actually called a hamburger menu, but whatever. And then just close in that stuff now and reload. All right, so now I have my logo, my header, which is like 10 pixels border purple, and then my logo is in a red box. And then I'll finally go to CSS, and I'll target the image, and I didn't give the image an ID, so I should go and do that. So either I do the A tag or I can do an ID, give it an ID of X, right? Because, or just an ID of menu, and then I'll go here and select the menu and give it a border of 5 pixels solid, and let me do blue. All right, save that, reload. Okay, so that's what's happening. So basically, I'm looking at the header, which is the purple box, the logo, which is the red, and then the menu image, which is in blue. So basically what I want is I want the red and the blue boxes to be next to each other. So in order to do that, I have to target the big box where both of these items are in, and I have to give it a display of flex. And what that does, it makes the header a flex container. And then what that does, if I run that and reload, by default, anything in a flex container becomes a flex item. And for us, the logo and the menu, so the red box and the blue box, are within the flex container, are within the header, so therefore they become flex items. And by default, when you do display flex, by default there is this property called flex direction that is set to row. And so it's going to move any flex items to be in the same row instead of being in the same column, right? Which is what we had before, right? So even if I say row, it's going to change to row, but even if I delete it, it's going to still be in the same row because by default, that's just what it is. So that fixes that problem for me. And then I guess the other thing I would want to do is I would want to do Control Shift I and go here. I'm in Firefox, so I go here to the little mobile view, and I want this to be iPhone 11 Pro because I'm just making sure that this is mobile responsive first, and then I work my way up to be web, like, normal web responsive. So to kind of make it a little bit more responsive, I guess that, where's a container? The container, I can give it a height, or let's start with the width of 100%, save that and see what that gives me. Width 100%, and then height 100%. And if I delete the height, let me just play around with this. It changes nothing. Okay, so then what I could do is give it position relative, so it's relative to, let's say, the HTML and the container. See if that works. Whoops. Oh my god, what did I just do? Return to workspace, please. Oh, I know why it's not working. It's because it already is 100%. Even if I don't do this, it's just that the blue box, because it's going outside of the what do you call it? The container, that's why it's extending it. So all I have to do is target the blue box, which is the menu, and I believe I could just give it a width of 25 pixels and a height of 25 pixels, and then that should fix things because that is the kind of, the height that I want it to be. I want it to be really small. And let me, maybe we could do 30 or 35. Let's see what 35 looks like first. Okay, and then I would want it to move all the way to the right. So to do that, because the header, it has a display of flex now, there's also this thing called justify content, which we can kind of move our flex items horizontally in a horizontal direction. And so I could just do space in between, right? And that's going to put space in between both of the flex items, that being the red box and the blue box, right? So moving them all towards the end. I could also do a space around, so that's going to put space around both of the items, giving it some, some padding. But I like to do space in between and have it be that way, especially if it's like mobile. And yeah, that's literally it. I would just do something like align items center, and that does the it just moves the items towards the center but vertically versus justify content, which does it horizontally. um and yeah, that's it. And then at least, let me see, no, yeah, that's it. And so that's kind of the idea here for the navigation bar. And so as for the modal, the plan is when I click on this menu, I want the modal to pop up, but like I need to actually create the modal. So I'm gonna go to index.html and where's my header? So I'm just going to, outside of the header, I'm gonna do a div and I'm gonna give it a class called modal, right? And I'm actually going to do a modal container, and inside the modal container, I'll actually do the modal, right? And the modal is going to contain a navigation bar, so a nav bar. Honestly, I believe there's a tag called nav. Never mind. Okay, let me do Control Z. Okay, so my navigation bar is going to be a list of links. So I'm going to do UL and then a list item, which are going to be A tags, right? Links that lead to nowhere. And one is going to say like home and so on and so on. So I'm just going to copy this a few times, just paste that in there, and then just save and see what we get so far. Okay, so that's what we see. And then I'm just going to say home, and then I feel like another thing would be like pricing, and then this one could be contact. Save that and reload. Okay, So the idea is to kind of start styling things. So I'm going to go to CSS and I'm going to just always give everything a border first because that's how I roll. I mean, honestly, if I don't give things a border, I just get lost. I'm going to be so honest. Um, so do that, and then I'm going to do dot modal as well. And I guess I'll do, I don't know what color, green. All right, reload. Okay, so that's what we see right now. So the idea is to have, how would I do this? So the blue box, which is the modal container, I want it to just be 100% of the entirety of the screen because it's going to be a pop-up. So I guess I can do, let me try two things. I could either do display fixed, um, or is it position fixed? Wait, position fixed, right? And then let's do from the top 0 and let me run that, see what that gives me. Whoops. Okay, beautiful. And then, so yeah, so position fix basically fixes it to the original, I guess, container, and then top 0 makes sure that it goes all the way to the top. And then I could say, okay, I want you to have a height of 100% and also a width of 100%. Let me save that and reload. Beautiful. So now I see that happening. I'm just going to give it a background just so I can differentiate between things right now. Let me save that, reload. Okay, so this is what I'm going to be seeing. Um, so I would go into the modal and just copy the height and width and put that in here so that it would also be 100%. And then within the modal, I'll give it a display of flex so that um, it centers the, what did I just do? What? Okay. I would do justify content center. So it moves towards the right horizontally, right? So it centers it horizontally. And then align items center would center the navigation bar vertically, so it's going to move down. So now it's at the center of the screen, which is pretty cool. And then I guess the last thing to do, well, not the last thing, obviously, but I'm going to target the nav bar, give it a border of, let's do 5 pixels white solid, save that, reload. And I would just go and give this a display of flex also, and then just do, honestly, just center those as well. So what I would do is just copy these over here, just paste that in there so that they're centered kind of nicely there. And then I'll target the color. So to target the color, that's actually an A tag property. So I'll do navbar ul li and then A. Or let me check if I gave them a link. I didn't give them a class. So class, I'll give them a class of link and just copy that. So that now I can just do dot link and have those styles be applied to every element that has a class of link, which is literally only the A tags. So now I can just go here and say, okay, dot link and change the color to, let's say, white for now. So save that, reload. And then to remove the underline, I can do text decoration and set that to none. Why can I not spell? All right, save that, reload. And then obviously font size, let's do 30 pixels to make that way bigger, maybe even 80. All right, and then let me just look at one thing. So it has display of flex. Oh, the reason why it's not doing this, it's because, so the idea was to get the home to kind of be at the center. And the reason it's not working when this is display flex is because essentially what's inside the navigation bar is just it's just the UL, right? So it's just centering the UL and not the actual list items, right? It's not, not the actual links. So what I have to do is actually, instead of doing all of those CSS rules for the nav bar, I have to do dot nav bar and then UL, and then apply those CSS rules because that is the container that actually holds all the links. And then again, by default, flux direction is set to row. So I would have to overwrite that just so that the list items would be in the same column again. So now you can clearly see that they're at the center. And then one thing that I might miss, right, is the bullet points. Because it's an unordered list, it's not a numbered list. It's a bullet point list. And so to get rid of those, I would have to actually target the list item because that's a list item property. So I would have to do .navbar ULLI and then say list style and set that to none, right? Because right now they're bullet points, and that would remove this little dot here. All right, and so that's essentially what the pop-up, the modal is going to look like. And so yeah, I guess that's fine. And then I would just go and remove the border of the navigation bar here, so I could just delete that, save that, and reload. And then the last thing would be to go to the modal, or maybe the modal container, and not only from the top 0, but I believe I'll have to do from the left 0 also, just so that it's, there we go, it moves to the left. So I think that's good. And then the reason we can't see the rest of the border, I believe, is because it has um, borders, right? That's the reason why it's extending because you clearly don't see the right border. But once we remove those borders, it should be 100% of the screen. All right, so that's literally this done. And then I guess the last thing for the navigation bar or the UL but to give it a gap. So this is actually a flex property, so it won't work if you don't have display flex. So I could do 1em, which is equivalent to 16 pixels, and that should do a gap between the links. All right, and then what I'm going to do right now is go to the modal container and give it a display of none so that it disappears, right? Because that's not what we want to see when we open the page. This is what we want to see when we open the page. So then this little button here is what I'm going to click, and when I click that, it should open up the modal. So I'm going to do that with JavaScript. So if I go to JS, I'll have to first actually access the button. So I'll create a variable called open, right? And I'm going to set it equal to that image, which actually has an ID. Let me look at it. Hold on. It has an ID of menu, right? So I guess, no, I'm gonna leave it like that. So in order to access that, I'm going to have to access the document. So the document is basically the browser's copy of your HTML page. So JavaScript, right, is an object-oriented programming language, and it only works with objects, right? So in order for JavaScript to, do stuff with your HTML, it needs to convert, right? It needs a converted version of your HTML elements into objects, and that's what the browser does. And that copy, that converted version of your HTML page, is called the DOM, which is your document object model. So it turns all your HTML elements into objects which JavaScript can actually work. And so the way that JavaScript accesses those is through the document, right? Which is just the DOM, right? And then I can do dot, and then I can use a function to actually access objects from the DOM. And I could do get element by ID in this case because I actually gave the image, this little thingy over here, an ID of menu. And if I save that, nothing's going to happen because I just created a variable, I just accessed it. But then what I can do is I can do console.log to check if that actually worked. So if I do console.log, it's kind of the equivalent of print in Python. It's going to just print it's not going to print, it's just going to actually show you, it's actually going to output that element here. If I go into the console here in, what do you call it, debug mode or something? I forgot. I can't even speak today. Oh my god! It outputs the image over here, so you can clearly see it worked, right? So it returns to you. I guess it's a better word or a way to say that. It returns to you that image, which is what I accessed here. All right, now that we got that said and done, I'm gonna delete this, and then I'm gonna create a function. So I'll do variable, and I'm gonna say on open click. So when I click on the open, which is the image, I want the following to happen, and I'll write that inside a function. Okay, and I'll go in here and I'll say, okay, what do I want to happen? Well, I want the modal container to appear. And so in order to get the modal container to appear, I have to access that as well. So I'll create a new variable and I'll call it the modal container and set it equal to the DOM. So I'm accessing it, right? Get element by ID. And what I'll do is I'll go back into HTML and just make sure that it has an ID and it does not. So I'll just give it an ID of modal container, same thing. And then go here to JavaScript and just paste that ID in there. And then what I can do now is I can say, okay, when I click on the open button, I want the modal container dot style, right? Because I want to change one of its CSS properties, and then I'll actually access the CSS property, which is display, and I'm going to set it equal to what I want it to be. And in this case, I wanted to set it equal to block, so then it becomes visible. So I'll run that. And if I actually click on it, nothing happens because I haven't told the button, um, what to look out for. Like, do I look out for, when it clicks on me once, when it clicks on me twice? Like, how do I, how do I do it? So the idea is I take the button, so open, and then I add an event listener. Maybe I should have done menu. I probably should have done menu. Let me change that to menu. Although it's open though. Oh, I can change it anyway. So this is the menu, right? The menu bar. So I can do menu and then I add an event listener. And what that does, is just a function, right, that has two parameters. So the first one is how you want the menu to like what you want the menu to respond to, and that is when I click on the menu once, and then what function do you want to pass or call when I click on the menu once, and that's going to be on open click. So now if I run that and actually click on the image, let me actually reload it. Click on it, you can clearly see it actually pops up, which is amazing, right? So I'm taking the menu and but you're just telling, JavaScript, or you're telling the menu, I guess, hey, menu, listen to when you are clicked on once. And when you are clicked on once, then pass this function or call that function. And then when it does that, it's going to take the modal container, access its CSS, and then change display to be block, right? Because right now the display of the modal container is set to none. That's why it's not appearing when you first open the page. So that's the idea behind that. So click on it, beautiful. Now here's a problem. How do I click on it again to close it? And that is where another things comes in. So I'm just gonna go and search for an X. And I think I'm gonna pick this black one over here. And I'm gonna copy image address. And I'm gonna go back over here into my HTML and within, let's see, the modal container, I don't know, do I want to do it inside? So I wanted to kind of follow the same positioning as the menu. So I think I'm going to put it inside the header, right? And I'm going to put it inside the header. So I'm going to do an A tag. It's the same thing, it's just with a different, you know, link. So an A tag and an image source that leads to that image and that A tag there. And then I'll give this an ID, oops, of let's say close. I don't know what's easier if I do close or open, or I could just do X because that's what it is. Um, all right, and then what's gonna happen is it's gonna add it there and it's gonna be really, really ugly. So what I could do is, where is the menu? Okay, so I could do this and I can do X, target it, give it a width, same thing, width of 35 pixels, um, height of 35 pixels, and then let me run it, reload. Okay, so, oh wait, I want it to be after the logo. Let me put that right there. Okay, and so the idea is, I would want that to have a display of none, right? So I don't want it to appear. So I'll do display none. So it's like not there, when the screen is normally there. And so now I'm going to go to JavaScript. So what I want is when I open, right, the modal container, when I click on this, not only do I want the modal to pop up, so to have a display of blocks, but I also want the X to also have a display of block, because right now, again, it's display none. So I'll have to access that as well. So I'll do variable called X and set it equal to the actual X. So I'll have to access it. So document dot get element by ID, and I believe I called it X. And then what I can do is go here and just add another thing to it. So when I open or when I click on the menu, I also want the X CSS display property to be set to block as well. But then not only that, let me run it actually, reload. So if I click on it, okay, I spelled it wrong. Document. Run that, reload. Okay, beautiful. When I click on it, it doesn't show up. And interesting. So x dot style dot display is equal to block. Where is my x again? It's over here. Display none with blah blah blah. Okay, that's fine. I think maybe it's a bit farther away. Or not. Let me see. All right, but then I don't want the X to only appear, but then I would also want, oh, I know why it's not appearing. Oh, it's because it's a black line. It's also because I need it to actually be above the, what do you call it? The header. So I have to give it a Z index of 1, save that, reload. And then I would also, let me go to the modal container and give it a background of, let's say green for now, because it is a black X. Huh, I still don't see it. Interesting. So I wonder why that is. Okay, let's ignore that for now. But I'm also going to select the menu and I'm going to say, okay, I also want the menu dot style dot display to be set to none because I want it to disappear. Save that, reload. And then let's see, menu dot click, blah blah blah. Modal dot container. So I wonder why it's not working. Let me see. All right, so when in doubt, do console.log. X, let me run that, reload. So it is spitting out the X here. So is it because I did the image or is it because I need to actually have the X on the A tag? But that didn't hold up. What if I do ID is equal to X here and then get rid of this and then source there, but then go to CSS and then make sure that I have this as the image here. Okay. So then if I go to JS, well, I wonder why it's not showing up. Huh. Console.log. Okay, so when I open on the function, the modal container pops up, right? And then the X should pop up and then the menu should disappear. So then why isn't this popping up? So you know what, let me go to CSS and get rid of that display none for now and see if it pops up anyway. Okay, it does. So what's happening when I do this? It's not popping up. Z index 2. Huh. Okay, could do Z index 1 and then the modal container. Let's do Z index and have it be 1 and then maybe this 2. Huh. Still not. What if I get rid of the background just so I could see what's happening? I click on it, it's there, right? But it's just not there also. Um, Interesting. So I needed to have, go to JS, no CSS. Let's do display, not display, position fixed. Oh, interesting. So with 35 pixels, the index 2, and then if I give this a background again, like let's say blue, it doesn't even matter. Oh, there we go. I don't know what, okay, was it the position fixed? Let me delete that. It was a position fixed. Um, that fixed that. Ah, okay, and then how would I get it to be on the side? I had the exact same problem the other day. All right, left 0, top 0. Oh no. So obviously top 0, but then left definitely not 0 because I do want it to be near the what would you call it? The other thing. Let me see. What if I go to my HTML and just have this be after the menu maybe? That really does nothing. I didn't even move it. Okay, paste that in there, save that, reload. What? That is so weird. And then this happens also. And then if I delete position fixed, let me go back to the X. So delete position fixed, delete, oh my God, what did I just do? Delete this, save this, reload. Then it's there, but I don't want it to be there. But then it's not showing up when I click on this. Interesting. So let me try doing z index 1 again, delete the z index for this one, and then let's do display none. Oh, but it still doesn't show up. Okay, how about I go to the header and then do margin right 20 pixels. Not margin right, margin, get rid of this. Not margin, padding. Padding, and then 0 pixels top and bottom, 20 pixels left and right. Because maybe it's because it's not showing up here. Although it is, why isn't it showing up? Because the display flex. So I'm doing X style dot display and I'm turning it into display block instead of none. But the X is actually the ID, not the image now. So that's a problem. So I'll have to go to JS, no, HTML, and give the ID to the image, save that, reload. That's so bad. And then the A tag, let me see. So then if I go back here and I do all this stuff, this is for, I don't need this because it's already the image. But then why is it so big? Oh, there we go. Um, it has a display none, so if I delete this and reload, huh, so it's still there. What if I give this a position of fixed as well. Hmm. Position of fixed and then display none. Huh. Okay, so let me try something. So if I do, let me go to index.html, go and give this an ID of X, and then I'll give this an ID of X image, and then go here to JavaScript, not JavaScript, the CSS, and then wherever it says X, just do X image, and then let's see. So for the actual X itself, I don't even think I need. Okay, and then over here, instead of getting X, let me do X image, get rid of this, run that, and then reload. And then let me try putting this in front of the other one. And then let's do the X and give it position fixed. That it's all the way here. That's weird. Display none. Okay, so how would I do this? So currently right now I have it Z index 1, that's why I'm able to see it, but the positioning is what's wrong. So I need to move it towards the right. So when I do JS, what it's doing is opening up the container, it's opening up the X, making it appear, and then setting the menu to be none. But I don't want it to necessarily have a position to fix it, but that's what makes it pop up. And if I get rid of that, then I won't be able to see it here. Hmm. Is it because of the border? Let me get rid of the border for the container and the border for the header. Well, not for the header, just the container. And also maybe the header. Not the header, what's the green box? It's the modal. And then why in the world is the menu is because it has position fixed. Okay, but then this is not popping up. Hmm. Interesting. So how about do negative 20 pixels? Hmm. But why would it be doing that? Display flex. So let's see. Hmm. I know it's there, but I wonder why in the world do I have to do that? I didn't do it the other day. Okay, so at this point, it's gonna become an unlisted video because I don't know why it's not. I mean, it's working, but not the way that it worked last time. And so I opened up last time and I'm trying to study it and see what I did differently that might be what is affecting the positioning of the X right now. I have the X image, which is display none. I always open it up here. Um, so that's what this is. And that's literally it. So in JavaScript, I'm targeting the X image, the modal, and the menu. And they're all IDs. So the menu is this one. So I'm targeting the link of the menu, and then I'm targeting the actual image of the X. And I'm making the modal appear, the open disappear, and the close appear. Right? That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm just like, what? Could just do image, don't need that. Hmm. Hmm. I'm just like wondering. So I have logo, image, and then A, and then modal. Hmm. And then the X image has all of this stuff. Huh. Is that not exactly what I have? Besides, obviously, these two. Exactly. It's the exact same thing. So maybe I need to do this then? It's so weird. So let me look at the modal container. So for me over here, that would just be the modal. So position fix, and then all of this, right? So let me just take this and compare. So display none. Oh, is that why? What did I just do? That's so weird. From the top, 0. It still doesn't show up. Oh my god. So what about, I don't know, 3? Like what more do I need to do? Maybe it just has to do with the Z index. Oh no, no, no. Okay. And then the modal content, which for me is just the modal, is all this stuff. So I got that. I got this. This one too. This one too. This one too. And then Obviously, I just have a background also. So that's done. I don't know where I'm going wrong right now. Like, this is ridiculous. Navigation bar, margin right 25 pixels to get it at the center. And then that doesn't really do anything. Nav bar UL. I got that fine. Got this fine. This is fine. This is fine. The button. What is the button? The button is the sign up. Oh, so that's useless. The X image. That's what I have here, except that. What did I just do? I have just a different height and width. Oh my god, what did I do? Did I go to the modal container or the modal content? Oh, I think I deleted the. There we go. I don't know what's the difference here. I really don't know. Like, that's literally it. There's nothing else that's like too crazy. So I'm not understanding why this isn't working. I mean, it's just not showing up. And again, if I just do give the modal, where is it? Oh, a background of just like none, I'll be able to see it. It shows up, but then, are you kidding me right now? Can we get rid of this background? Thank you. All right, I'll be able to see it shows up, right? But it doesn't actually show up on the modal container. So I believe it has to do something with the z index, and I've just been wasting my time. Are you serious right now? So I just have to figure out the hierarchy. So the z index currently for the IMG is 1. So that means for the header, I would have to give that a z index of 0 or maybe just -1, right? And then instead of going here and giving this a z index of 1, I'll give it a z index of 2 and have the modal container have a z index of 1 so that it's on top, or at least it would be at the bottom. Okay, and then let me just give this a background now and see if it actually works. Oh my god, I'm literally done right now. Why doesn't it show up? It is so weird. It just doesn't want to go up. So I'm literally telling it, go above it. What if I do -1 and then this just like 1 and then go to the header and just delete that z index? Are you kidding me? So then I would do the index, what would I do the z index? The z index of the header. So if the modal, okay. So if the modal container is -1, then -2. I don't know. You're kidding me. Oh my god, I'm gonna cry. Um. Oh my god. All right. So The modal container is -1, so it's going to be behind. So maybe I don't want it to be -1, I just want it to be 1, like, bro, like, come on. And then the header, okay, so the hierarchy I want is like 0, 1, and then the x should be 2, right? 0, 1, 2. But it's not showing up. Like, what do I need this to be? 999? Like, oh my God. Oh my God. Um, hmm. I'm going to melt right now. Are you serious right now? You're kidding me. It's not even funny. It's literally not even funny. Okay, so let's analyze this because there is no way that I just did all of this just to not understand. So, okay. So apparently what works is the way that I had it is I have an ID of X, so the A tag itself has to be on top of because the A tag is the container. Okay, so the A tag technically is a container of the image. So really what we want is not the image to be on top, is the A tag to be on top. And so that's why I had to set the Z index of the A tag because that is where the ID X is, right? Um, so yeah. So then I guess it's an idea, big picture. And so then now it's finally at the top here. And it is, let me look at the styling. So it requires no extra random stuff, which is great. Okay, so I'm gonna start this thing over again and hopefully it would work. I just want to make sure real quick that if I want to see if this works without box sizing. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm gonna start this again. So yeah, this is kind of like a studying thing. Bye.